Okay, welcome everyone. The little light came on. We are now streaming live on YouTube. The meeting is official. I am Tim Erickson. This is the bi-weekly outreach meeting, and we're going to start with introductions and ask everybody to introduce themselves, where you're from, and just any quick update that you would like to share. And I'll go ahead and start. My name is Tim Erickson. I'm St. Paul Tim. I'm in Deerwood, Minnesota, and yeah, just the same thing I've been saying for the last month. I'm just like overwhelmed with life, and so not getting as much backdrop stuff done as I'd like. So hopefully we can figure that all out today, and I'm going to pass it on to Robert.
I'm Robert Lang, bug folder on the internet from Altadena, California, and I've been spending a lot of time mostly on documentation things lately, and have some documentation ideas or questions to bring up in the meeting. And I'll pass it to Sarvashri.
My name is Sarvashri, and I'm working on the Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Backdrop. I'm in Walnut Cove, North Carolina. Who's next?
Yeah, I'll go. All right. Greg, usually in Australia, now joining from Greece. Haven't caught up with outreachy things, so here to see if I can help in any way, but also very busy with life and work. Hope to get back to doing more backdrop things. And then on to Jen.
I'm Jen Lampton. I'm joining from Oakland, California. I've also been overwhelmed with work things. So you might see me in Backdrop Land doing a bunch of stuff in Contrib, but I haven't been around lately in Core Lantern for a weekly meeting. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on. I think that's back to you, Tim.
Okay. Well, there's been some talk around the dev meeting about, not going through the rigid the list of things where there's no updates, and being more efficient with our use of time. Our normal agenda is to go through blog posts, newsletters, and all of that. But as I said, I think 2 weeks ago, my feeling is that right now it's not a lack of ideas, it's just a lack of time. So I'm not looking for new ideas. If people have them, please share them. So let's just take a minute. If anybody on the topics of blog posts, newsletters, events, dashboard notifications, if you have any ideas that you want to share now, or if you want to volunteer to do them, which is more important, is to get people to do the ideas that we have. Let's just take a minute. Or if you have any questions about that stuff. Sure, Robert.
Yeah, I had a question. I posted it in Zulip about newsletter. Mm-hmm. I'm sure a lot of us probably get the weekly drop email newsletter. Right. And nowadays, every week, there's an advertisement for Drupal long-term support in there, Drupal 7. I'm just wondering if it's feasible, cost-effective, or even possible for us to put something in there saying there's an alternative for all you Drupal 7 people out there.
Right.
I have some reservations with regards to how that will be perceived from the Drupal community end, but yeah, we could try or we could ask.
Well, there's a couple layers of questions here, right? And the first is, do we even, assuming that's going to cost money, is that the kind of thing, we have at least entertained the idea, I think, of spending a little money on like AdWords, but sort of spending money on advertising is not something we've done much of. So that the first question is, do we even have that capacity or desire? And then the question comes to what Gregory's talking about, is how that would be perceived, whether they would even take our ad, because I don't know if WordPress tried to advertise in the weekly drop if they would let them. Now we're not WordPress, so we might have an advantage, but I don't know. So any thoughts?
I think it might be worth reaching out to Bob Kempford and asking, he's the guy who manages the weekly drop, like, what are your policies on advertising and would you be open to it? Because if the answer is no, our conversation ends there. But if the answer is yes, then I think that does give us some opportunities, and it might be worth thinking about investing in. I mean, I feel like that's our audience. That's probably the best targeted audience we're going to be able to reach. Google AdWords is sort of like a shot in the dark, and we're going to spend money. This might be a better place than that to do it. So could be worth looking into.
Sure, and I guess I forget, the weekly drop is not like an official, right? Drupal Association, that's a private thing, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, so we might have a bigger shot there. And you, do you know the proclivities of the editor? You mentioned his name, like you know him.
I just found it from the Weekly Drop website. I mean, I think I've met him a couple of times just because Drupal, you end up meeting people over time, but I don't actually know how he feels about Backdrop. But I think I remember him being a decent human being, and I think he'd be open to a conversation, even if he hates Backdrop. He'd probably be like, no, and I'll tell you why, rather than just like, I don't know, table flipping and running off or whatever people do these days. So,
well, I think it's an interesting idea. What would we be advertising then too is the other question, right? Just sending people to backdrop.org. It could be that he might be more open to like us advertising an event, like maybe Backdrop Live. That might feel a little less direct, like here's a chance to learn about it. I don't know, maybe not. Philosophically, I think there's no difference, but for some reason it feels softer to be advertising an event as opposed to just saying, hey, switch from Backdrop to, or from Drupal to Backdrop.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
A lot of those sponsored things are articles on that take the form of someone's blog post. Yeah, I mean, it's a blog post that clearly has an agenda, but it's an article that talks about these as some opportunities and so forth. So that
I've noticed that a lot of digital agencies started off as a blog about a generic thing, and then at the very last paragraph they say, hey, but we can help you with that. It's like reach out. So it's a form of outreach or advertisement or marketing, if you like. Back in the days when they started the long-term support initiative or program, I should say, in Drupal, I kind of thought that if Backdrop was an entity and we had some people, like we do have community, but we don't have like a commercial entity or developers that are sort of like employed, even if it's for $1 a month, we could apply for that long-term support program. But it costs money. I know that it's sort of some like $5,000 to even apply for that, and there's commitments or requirements as well. And as I said before with the thing, I don't know if we would ever be accepted even.
Right.
Yeah.
It does though seem like an entity who is advertising saying, here's how you can stay on Drupal 6 or stay on Drupal 7, which is in there now. That doesn't seem a whole lot different from us. You know, we're all saying these are alternatives to the standard Drupal flow, and we just don't happen to call it Drupal.
But then we'd have to cough up $5,000 to just get into that program.
Oh, I'm not advocating getting into the long-term support. Just saying if they accept these other ads.
The weekly drop, yeah.
As I said, the worst thing they could do is say, go away, we never want to hear from you.
Well, and risking the wrath of people that sort of like came up with the idea is that basically they're monetizing. So basically they're saying, all right, we're going to let a few selective companies do long-term support, but we're going to monetize on it. So if you're going to keep working on D7, A, you have to be in the security team and contribute to it for D7. And then B, you have to pay some money. And then they say that this money goes for some, I think, firewall sort of like service that makes things secure. Yeah, but yeah.
I think, but we got two different discussions going on, one about D7 long-term support and one just about advertising in the drop. So in terms of the just advertising, and I'm going to throw out, there's been a lot of, there's been a number of sort of side discussions going on about promoting Drupal, or Backdrop, excuse me, and like advertising to build Backdrop sites and all of that. And it all gets complicated. One thing I've thrown out as an idea is that it might be time for there to be the Backdrop Business Association or something where people that are actually interested in doing that and putting some money up, because right now, I'm not even sure we have the budget to do this kind of advertising. And if we did, then we'd have to make decisions about how to spend it. And then Like, where do we send people? And, you know, so what if somebody contacts us and says, hey, I want a backdrop site, who do I talk to? Like, you know, a group of providers could get together and make those decisions and how they wanted to collaborate better than us as a community, I think.
Yeah.
So, well, this is the newsletter that we were talking about would be our own newsletter. This was kind of a new business, I think, agenda, which was fine. I think we should keep talking about this. It sounds to me like the takeaway is that it wouldn't hurt to contact the weekly drop.
Yeah.
Is it the weekly? Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay. To contact them and find out if it's even an option, because if it was, it does seem like it would be a great opportunity, and it would be an opportunity for us to decide, make some decisions about, you know, if we want to do that, how do we do it? Do we need to start raising some money for that? So,
So Jen,
let's-
are you sort of like putting your hand up to try to contact this person, or is it my understanding, or are you muted, by the way?
Yeah, I'd be happy to reach out to him. Should we specifically ask about promoting the event generally, rather than specifically asking about promoting Backdrop? Or do you think we should say generally, would you be open to things about Backdrop? In particular, we want to advertise this event. What do you think?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would phrase it like that. Mention that specific event, and then say, but there might be other things as well.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I like that approach, especially, you know, if it makes you feel any more comfortable, for sure.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other just sort of questions or social media stuff? Is anybody ready to write a blog post? I'm not asking for ideas. I'm asking for who wants to write one. I've got about 6 on my agenda that I'll get to sometime this year or next.
If I manage to make some time, I would prefer to work on core issues. So I'm going to say no.
Okay. Well, let's skip over that. I'll just sort of say in general, I think our social media presence is down recently because of all the reasons we've talked about.
Before we move on from
Yep.
newsletters, I would like to point out that the Backdrop was being mentioned as part of the, I don't know if it's a tiki or, you know, side way of, you know, getting into the face of Drupal people. The Drupal newsletter, the official Drupal newsletter, mentions upcoming events, and some of those events had as the title Backdrop and something else. I don't know. Just I'll post screenshots. I'll find them again.
Okay.
So
But
maybe
Backdrop,
that's another way to sort of like bring Backdrop, or at least mention Backdrop to Drupal users.
okay. Are you suggesting they were using a backdrop in a different meaning though?
No, it was, bear with
Okay.
me, I'll find it. So it's upcoming local meetings, and it was the SF DAG June 10 upgrading from D7 to Backdrop
Oh,
CMS.
okay. I got it. So it were Drupal events that happened to have backdrop content.
And which happened to have that as a main thing. So it's listed as a title within the Drupal newsletter. So I don't know if it's a cheeky or sneaky way to do it.
Which, by the way, that is tonight. Jen, are you ready? Say
I'm
something
gonna
about.
I'm gonna do the same presentation I did at Stanford WebCamp this year. Just essentially showing off the Backdrop upgrade status module branch that has all of the reporting information on it. So
Okay, good. So that's tonight at 5:30, right? San Francisco time?
yeah,
West Coast time. Okay, at the San Francisco DAG, which is that still online?
yeah,
Still
it's
virtual,
online.
yeah.
So I guess what I was saying is that if we happen to be near Drupal events and we know that these are candidates of being added as that, because I see that there's 3 being added for upcoming events. It doesn't list all of them. If we think that specific event is going to be one of those 3 being listed in the newsletter,
Sure.
maybe we would strive to make sure that there's a Backdrop event or session.
Sure. I think we just missed a deadline. Well, I don't know if we missed it. That's my question. Asheville Drupal Camp just had a deadline in the last week or 2, didn't they, for sessions? Did anybody, Jen, I'm
Yes.
looking at you. it would have been you or I think, that submitted and I didn't. So did you?
I didn't do a session, but I am doing a backdrop training at Triple Camp Asheville.
Okay, well, that's good. That's is good or better. Okay. Right. And that's still also virtual. So. Okay, well, I think we ought to jump on to Backdrop Live because as we were talking about right before you came on, Jen, we've managed to burn up whatever excess time we had. And we're now down to a month out, which is about where we usually panic and start doing things. As usual, I'm going to at least put on the table, are we ready? And is there any chance we want to postpone or whatever? I'm not saying we have to. Although I am saying it's feeling very stressful to me because although my situation is getting better, I should have more time in the near future, but I just don't, we need to do a lot of, in order for this to happen, I think we need to get some stuff done in the next couple of days or it's just going to be too late, right? We've got nothing.
So stuff done in terms of opening event registration?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Like, how late can we not have event registration and still plausibly pull this off?
Yeah.
Although, we could take a cheap route or an easier route than we planned. Although, I don't know, we could just redo what we did last time. That would make it easier. But even that's going to take, a couple of hours. And I've been having a hard time coming up with just an hour or two to do backdrop stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think the one downside to postponing is that in the fall is the hardest time to find a good date for this because we're starting to run up against other big events. And especially now that other events are starting to happen in person again, some of them, I suppose, that scheduling is going to get even harder. So I feel like the early year backdrop event and mid-year backdrop event are fairly easiest for us to schedule. The one major thing is that all of Europe goes on vacation in the summer. So that's what we're facing now. But then looking to the fall, that's harder. And I think a more likely event to say, oh, we're going to do this one in conjunction with something else. So I do kind of like the idea of having this summer standalone event. I would wonder what it is we could do to decrease the burden on people like you, Tim, while running the event. And I know I could probably come up with an hour or two over this coming weekend. I can't promise today or tomorrow, but this weekend to help with get registration open. But after registration is open, I'm also worried about a continuing burden on you, even if it's just like a mental, like another thing to put on your list, I think it's going to be hard. And so if there's some way we can figure out how to improve the scheduling or the offload the burden of like wrangling people to get session submissions or something like that, I think it is important to consider.
Do we have a to-do list, sort of like the same that we do for releases and people that are able to do those tasks? Have we documented even partially what needs to be done? Because some other people might jump in, and including myself.
Talked about it.
Yeah. Well, we started to create one, and I don't know if it got into a GitHub issue or if it's just in the notes. However, I mean, for me, the really big thing is really just outreach, right? It's like I spend a lot of time before the last two events just trying to tweet and contact people and, get anything out in social media as I can. And, and specifically really push, with this unconference format, hopefully it's getting better, but we're still having a hard time getting people to step up and just say, yeah, I'll do this topic. It really takes like a personal invitation. Usually it's like, I want to bet that 2/3 of the sessions at the last two Backdrop Lives got on the schedule because somebody was asked directly by myself or somebody else. They didn't just step forward and submit it. And I don't know how, so if we could solve that, that would make it a lot easier.
That's usually the case. People don't volunteer unless you talk to them. So whoever would like to, if there's a list of people who've done presentations in the past, all those people should be contacted and say, would you like to do a follow-up presentation like you did last time, maybe a follow-up to what you did, or a different angle or a different presentation, and just send out a note to all of those people and get some response that way.
Mentally, for me, there's a bit of a catch-22 in that the more I talk about it, the more my own expectations get built up. Right? The more I'm out there tweeting about it, the more I don't want it to sort of, you know, to have 10 people show up and have it fail. So then the more I kind of, I feel the pressure to push it because, you know, I've been out there pushing it. You know, there's been sort of a, you know, one of the mottos of an unconference is whoever shows up are the right people. Don't stress about it. On the other hand, you know, the idea of there only being 10 or 15 people, like, that scares me, right? Because then I feel like for those people who show up, well.
Do we have a sign up yet? We can send out an email to people to sign
No,
up?
that we were just talking about, we don't even have registration up yet. And that's part of the problem is like, so that's, I think the number one thing, but you know, we were saying that a month ago, was that like our number one priority is to get event registration up and we just haven't done that yet. So,
How was it done last time? Can we do the same thing?
yes, we could, although we had hoped to do it a little differently. For example, we've got this problem with the Software Freedom Conservancy. We should be running this through their account, but we need their help to do that. And after one successful meeting, we haven't really heard from them again, have we? Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's all about follow up. People don't follow up unless you follow up with them. So that's sort of
Anyways,
the way it works.
But I'm correct, John. The worst case scenario is we just do what we did last time. Yeah. And we do it on the same site. And so really it would be much easier than last time. Okay. We do have things in place this time that we didn't last time that will make that easier. Okay. Well, I didn't expect for it to be canceled or postponed. I'm comfortable going ahead with it. I will try to on the one hand, not overstress myself, but to also to make some time. We'll see and see what we can do. But we need to get that registration up. One thing that would help for me, because I'm so sort of overwhelmed right now, setting aside time to actually work is helpful to me. And it isn't to everybody, but for me to like schedule a work meeting or a work time, a sprint on Backdrop Live, that's helpful because I put it on my calendar and then I'm there for 2 hours to just do Backdrop Live stuff. So if anybody is willing, or if that's helpful to anyone else, you know, that's something that would help me is to just schedule.
Yeah, that would be helpful for me too. So I don't know if you have time over the weekend, but if not, we could try and do something early next week.
The sprint sounds like a great idea.
Actually, Sunday, I was thinking it might be difficult this weekend, but Sunday afternoon would work better than Saturday. I could do it.
Okay.
Sunday would work better. Yeah. So, okay. Does that work for you, Jen?
Yep.
How about noon your time Sunday? Does that work for you?
I have a family Zoom from 12 to 1, but I could do it after 1.
That's fine. We could even say 1:30 I'll start at 1, but you don't have to be there. There's no stress to be there right at 1.
Okay.
So take whatever time you need in between and come.
Okay.
Again, it's not, I'll just start working, right? The whole goal of this is a working meeting. So anybody else that's available, please join us.
Yeah, so if you post something on Zulip that you're doing that,
Yep.
maybe 30 minutes before, I might join just to see what kind of tasks are involved in the whole processing. So,
Well, you know, something that would be helpful that I haven't seen a lot of, and I think, you know, I think 5 or 8 years ago, if you had an event like this and you said, hey, everybody, let's promote this on our social media, everybody would jump in and do that. And that's getting harder and harder to motivate people to do that. If we could just get, like, if 10 of us all posted something in social media, that would be a lot better than, you know, me posting 10 times.
doesn't
Anyways.
apply to me. I don't have social media other than
Well, see, Gregory, you got to get on and then post an account to your 0 friends that you don't have because, okay. Well, what else? Backdrop Live wise, is there anything else we can talk about or do right now?
So where are we with the Software Foundation and the PayPal or whatever things that they would.
They know what we're doing. They know why we're doing it. They know everybody would prefer to do it a different way, but they have not yet offered us the solution. We need to do it a different way. So I feel like we're sort of in the clear in terms of we're not doing anything behind their back, which is good. And they know that we're waiting on them to do it the way they want us to do it. So I think that, you know, I'll probably send another email out to our contacts and say, hey, we're now a month away from this event. I know you guys need more than a month notice. Our plan is to go ahead the same way we did last time. If for some reason you can do something in less than a month, let us know. And then at least they'll know that we're moving forward with the repeat of what we did before. And if it works out that they can get us access to their PayPal account so we can send the funds through that before that event, that would be great.
Okay.
And for anybody who doesn't understand, this is just about getting, ideally registrations go directly into the Software Freedom Conservancy account. What we did last time was we put it into our own PayPal account, and that's less than ideal. So, but we could do that if we have to. So, but we can't send money into their account without their cooperation. So that's what we need to get from them. Okay. Any other questions or comments about Backdrop Live? I mean, I will say that we should, you know, not have set the expectation that this is a midsummer low-key Backdrop Live, and we're, you know, what happens. Whoever shows up is the right people, and whatever happens. I think the other thing though. So promoting it and getting people to do sessions are the two big things. And we've been, so figuring that out and making that easier. I feel like MidCamp did a full unconference, and they had like a session submission form. How have we done this? We've done like spreadsheets, and we've done it informally. I don't know, did we actually, we've asked during registration, like, what do you want to talk about? And nobody ever says anything. But I don't know if we've actually had like a submission form, like a session that is just submit your idea for a session. I think I might have always been hung up with here's the thing about an unconference is if somebody submits something, in theory, it's going to happen. So you want to schedule it at a time that's good for them. So I've been always sort of hung up with giving them the opportunity to both pick a time and submit a session, because I felt like that was necessary. MidCamp didn't do that. They just said, tell us what you want to talk about, right? Submit a session, and then we'll schedule them later. And it might be that maybe that's less of a barrier. It's more what people are used to. And maybe we should do that. Jen, did we really have opportunities to do that for either of the last two, where you could just fill out a form and say, this is what I want to talk about?
The form is on the website, but I don't think we used it.
Right.
We just used the registration form and said, what do you want to talk about? So they could do it during registration.
So I'm inclined to maybe try that, where we just have a form that says it's like a traditional DrupalCap session submission, but that we tell them this is just a topic for discussion. You're facilitating it, and that in volunteering the topic, we expect you to do it, right? And we'll schedule it with you later. We'll get back to you about when it's going to happen, so that people understand that it's not a selection process. So I think we could whip that up pretty quick, and that would give us something. Let's try that. I don't know. For some reason, I like the feel of the MidCamp, the way they handled it. I don't know if it worked any better, though, to be honest. Like from their point of view, if they got more sessions or. Okay. Anything else?
Could there be a list of topics that you think need to be covered and offer those topics as a selection for people?
Yeah, I've been doing that, Suresh. That's the one thing. I've been throwing out topic ideas left and right, and it has helped a little bit. I had a little bit of success with people stepping up and saying, "Oh, I'll do that topic." But
Yeah,
I
no,
don't think that's the problem.
we can encourage in Zulip people to ask what they would like to see facilitated.
Yeah, what do people want?
I mean, I hope that this is getting better, but I still think a lot of people still think about it as a presentation, and they don't have time to prepare a presentation. And well, they obviously haven't attended any of my Backdrop live sessions because I did not prepare presentations, right? I just show up and lead a discussion. So, okay.
One thing that we haven't done in a long time is, and I'm taking an opportunity from a comrade from my country that showed up in the HQ. I think he uses the handle CPTX. So they did mention that they have coding experience, but they've never worked with GitHub, and they would like to learn how to do pull requests. And I was planning to do that with them in a private session, but now I'm thinking that maybe it would benefit others as well. So I'm thinking of doing that because it, as you say, Tim, it requires almost zero preparation on my end.
Right.
So yeah,
might
as well do that.
And I think sort of live demos or whatever are, that's also equally valid.
Yep.
Okay. Great. Anything else? Backdrop live wise. Was there anything else? There were a couple people were mentioning things in Zulip. Was there anything else in Zulip that was outreach related? I know we talked about your thing, Robert. The weekly drop.
Can't see anything else.
Okay.
The other one that Andy Gozella mentioned is for the dev
meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I think that Robert had a different topic that he wanted to bring up, and then I just thought of something as well. So maybe we go into that. Yeah.
Just related, when you mentioned doing a blog post, and I had expressed interest in doing a blog post, but that I really hoped we'd get a markdown editor before I did. And it looks like everyone who's commented has said, yes, this is great. So what do we need to do to make that happen?
Wait, I thought we were putting a markdown editor on the documentation site. Are we now talking about doing it on the main site too? So it will work for content there?
I guess so. I mean, I was hoping to have it on wherever I need to put.
Everywhere you need to write something would be ideal. Okay. So I think next steps for that would be for anyone to fork the repository for whatever site you're working on and want it on, set it up locally, create a new text format with the editor on it. There might also involve installing the module and putting whatever library you need, wherever you need it, and then filing that as a pull request against the project. And then someone else who has deploy access, which is probably me or BW Panda, or maybe Tim even has it now too, or Nate or Justin, can do the review, merge, and push.
Also, related to that topic, I'm not sure if you're aware, Robert, but we have nightly backups of the databases, sanitized backups of the databases for all the sites. So if you do need to set things up on your local, just ask on Zulip and someone will provide you with access to that.
Okay, I will do that.
Yeah.
That's something I've wanted for a while too, and just haven't said anything.
I think that Peter has created scripts that set it up on your local, doing like pulling those. Yeah.
I haven't tried them.
Yeah, I haven't tried it.
There's also like DDEV config files and stuff. Yeah. So.
Orlando.
Okay. Well, I have gotten them set up, so I know it's possible. But yeah. Okay. Any that went smoothly, Robert. I did not expect that issue to go so smoothly. Okay. Gregory, you had something else you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, I noticed that there's 3 at least new names that showed up in the issue queue. I haven't. I've been away for like 5 days or so, and then I saw 3 people showing up, new names, and offering to work on issues, and like they weren't aware of our processes, and I said, can I work on this issue? And either I or Herb or someone else said, yeah, sure, just jump and do it. But I think that we should follow up. I think I'm going to do it, if not sooner, over this weekend, and say, hey, since you do have a GitHub account, you can use that to log into Zulip and ask anything you want if you need help. So yeah, and I can see those 3. I've assigned those tickets to these people, so I can see them now. There's at least 3 of them.
Okay.
And sorry, my plan was, yeah, to follow on that thought. Because the time sort of like coincided, maybe they're a group of people that are working together, or I would like to know how they sort of like got introduced to Backdrop and sort of like what drove them to the issue. Would like to follow up with that.
Okay. Well, I'm a bit exhausted. So if we don't need to drag this meeting out, we have another one in 10 minutes, which I want to save some energy for it. It's going to be a good one. Does anybody have anything else outreach wise? I think I say outreach for the next month is all Backdrop Live. Yeah, this is a big opportunity, and we should, all of our, I mean, it's not that we can't do other things, but that's where the focus should be. And we should be thinking social media, the weekly drop, everything around Backdrop Live. So if anybody wants to set up times to work on this stuff and collaborate, let me know. That is helpful to me. So we have one set up for this weekend with John, but if you have another time that you want to work on it, let me know. And I may be, if I'm available, we'll do that. I think we should go ahead and end this meeting early for a change. And I'm going to selfishly try to use the time in between to ask you guys a question.
Okay, sure.
A non-meeting related question. Bye, everyone.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, John, you got the controls.